Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Hilary Coleman. I'm a senior lecturer at university, but I'm also a former school teacher. And that means you are in the right place if you would like to hear the number one biggest mistake that I see university students make. In this video, I'm going to break that down for you, but I'm also going to explain the why behind that. And what I mean by that is, what are the consequences for a university student if they make this mistake? The reason I think the why is really important is oftentimes when new university students are headed to uni for the first time, we bombard you with information. So you must sign up for this, make sure you attend this, these units you have to do these, completely avoid this, you must do that. And the problem with that is when we don't give the why behind it, it's really hard for you to start making good choices about your priorities with your study. And unfortunately, newsflash, as we're all becoming adults and independent learners, you are never going to be able to get done every single task that you would like to. It's a really good aim to get as much done as possible, but you shouldn't feel bad about it. We only have 24 hours in the day. None of us are managing to do every single thing we would like to. But the difference is at university is that without someone making sure you know that if you miss this tiny task, nothing bad will happen, but if you miss this other tiny task, you will fail your unit and perhaps have to do a whole extra year of study, that we actually see some really bad outcomes in that case. We do have students who fail things and then are really, really prolonged with their study. Obviously, there's also some bad mental health things then, there's well-being, there's cost of living, a lot of things that I'm really hoping that you can avoid. And finally, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a tip that changes my students' mindset and their approach to university student services and study help. And it really just makes their university that little bit easier, or in fact, a lot easier, I would say. As we head into that number one mistake, if you're finding this video useful, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. I'm not giving you any information I'm not allowed to give you. There's no secrets here, but ultimately I'm trying to make the invisible visible. I wish students had access to this information before they started, but it's just really hard to find. And when a student makes a mistake, it's not their fault. It's really hard to avoid. So the more people who like and subscribe, the more students I can reach, and the easier that pathway is to the future for so many students. All right, let's begin. What is the number one mistake that I see my students make? It is not being across all of the O week or orientation week information that they really need to be. There's a heap of stuff that happens in O week. You can get bombarded with lots of information. Things like signing up to clubs and societies, that's really awesome. But there's oftentimes in there what's referred to as an O week or orientation lecture. It will be given by someone who's a course convener or a program director. I used to be one of them. I used to give these talks every semester. And that's a person who has oversight of your degree, and they're in charge of your degree, essentially. They give this talk for a specific degree. So for example, if you're in a Bachelor of Science, there will be an orientation talk for the Bachelor of Science. If you are doing a Bachelor of Nursing, a Bachelor of Architecture, a Bachelor of Physiotherapy, a Bachelor of IT, a Bachelor of Commerce and Marketing, whatever it happens to be, there will be an orientation lecture for you. Sometimes it might be in person on campus, sometimes it might be run online, real time, sometimes it might be pre-recorded, it might be provided in a bunch of different ways, depending on what institution you're at and how you've chosen to study, but that information will be given to you in O week or perhaps a bit before. The reason why it's really important is not only does it mean you get to meet a heap of students who will also be studying your degree and starting at the exact same time as you, so you'll feel like you've got some sense of belonging and some friends before you begin. Your course convener or program director, the person delivering the lecture, will give you key information that you will need in order to be successful with your degree. So that'll range from things like, what are your course requirements? So in other words, what things do you need to tick off so you can graduate at the end of your study? They will tell you your study pattern. So what does your degree look like? What units, or in other words, subjects, should you be studying in your first semester? Are there any requirements in terms of attendance or participation or work integrated learning and placements, or even things like, do I have to pass a specific assessment task in order to move on? Those things are really key. They will also really importantly give you information about where to go if you need support. And it's really hard to memorize all this stuff. So you don't need to memorize it. You just need to know who to ask if you're unsure. They'll give you names, they'll give you phone numbers, they'll give you email addresses, they'll give you places to attend. That support might range from questions about your study pattern, but it also might be things like, I am having trouble with my well-being. Who can I go and talk to about that? I'm having trouble setting up my student email address. Who can I talk to about that? You might even be having trouble financially or finding housing, or with study skills. You might say, I just need some help with my academic writing skills. All of that information will be provided to you in that O-Week lecture, usually. All right, if you're not sure what you should be doing at this point, this is one out of many mistakes that you could make. It's the biggest mistake I see, but I've actually created a guide that has the 7 mistakes that a lot of students make. And again, can't stress enough, it's not mistakes that students are making because they're not good enough. It's mistakes that most people make because it's really hard to avoid them without getting this invisible information. So if you want the invisible to become visible to you, if you head down to the link below, I've actually given you in the information a link to how to access that guide, so you've got all 7 of them in one place. There's also a link to a university glossary there. So if there's some terms that I've been using, some vocabulary like program director, course requirements, units, degree, all that kind of thing, and you want a bit more information about the definitions and also some extra tips from a university lecturer, the link to that guide is below, as well as a new uni student checklist. So what tasks should you do and when in order to be successful at university and not miss something or not be surprised by something. That link's below. Okay, what's that last thing that I said that I would give you, that tip for success? So I tell my university students that all of those support services that we've just mentioned and many, many more, a lot of my uni students feel like they're only accessing that support if they're failing in some way. They're not doing well relative to their classmates, and then they would need to go and get that support, which means if they seek it, something's going wrong for them. That is absolutely not the way to think about this. Imagine it this way: your student services fees have already paid for those supports. What you want to imagine is that you are an elite athlete, and of course if you're headed for the Olympics or a national international sporting event, you would obviously get a coach in your corner to help you get the best result possible. That is what you should be thinking about all of these university supports as. You've already paid for them. A really proactive, successful student is going to use them when they need one. It does not mean that you are failing if you reach out to student support. You might get support with some maths and stats help. You might get some support with your academic writing skills, with academic integrity, with use of generative AI, with your well-being, with a reasonable adjustment plan. All of those things are going to make you more successful and do not mean that you're failing. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope the first semester in your university is going to be successful for you. Happy study.